Welcome to the B-Sides and Beers podcast.
Welcome to B-Sides and Beers, episode 103. Tonight we're talking Korn. What's going on, dudes? Are you ready? I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yep.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
You know what? Are you ready?
I was talking to Nicole about, she wanted to know what topic we were doing, and I said Korn. She's like, why haven't you guys done them before?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like, I'm kind of surprised you guys didn't cover them. It took 3 episodes to get to Korn. It feels like it probably should have happened earlier.
It's definitely been on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, it just never came to fruition until now, but it's meant to be. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Lots of material, though.
Massive.
Yeah, like kind of didn't know about some of the ongoing stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point did you guys get on board?
Life is Peachy.
Where were you when this
Life is
dropped?
Peachy was my first album with.
Are you talking discography wise or like
anything Korn in general?
Anything Korn?
The first time you remember, not necessarily just hearing Korn, but getting it, I guess.
Okay, I've like been rehearsing what I'm about to say for like a week now.
Oh, here we go. Give them the floor. Mute yourselves.
I think the first time I ever heard it was probably 1997 when I switched high schools, and I remember I think it was Life Was Peachy. Someone was playing in the parking lot, and I was like, "What is that?" And I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just didn't like it. And then fast forward, and we had the Melvins project, and I couldn't get into the music. I couldn't get into the Melvins. So I was like listening to a bunch of Korn when I should have been listening to the Melvins. And the reason being was, I don't know how it might have just popped up. Like my algorithm might have just said like, here, you might want to listen to this as well. And I was like, holy shit. The bass, like Fieldy's bass and Dave Silva's drum together is so amazing. And why didn't I listen to this before?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I rehearsed for.
Yeah. No, well said.
Well, you nailed it.
Yeah. Top shelf. That was fantastic.
Nailed it.
But yeah, no, it's good. And it was kind of similar to like even what we were talking about, like building those rhythms, like in the Melvins episode, like, and the lyrics, like, you know what I mean? Like putting it with the drum and the bass together.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, right? Like, yeah, it's nuts. Like when it sounds like nothing else.
Totally.
Right? Like,
and
yeah.
Well, and you look at Fieldy too. He doesn't necessarily play like a proper bass player. He plays it more like a drummer, and he envisions it more like a percussion instrument than a bass.
Yeah,
So,
and from what I read, man, like, and I don't know if this is true or not, but was a guitar player at the beginning, and they needed a bass player and switched to bass. So, like,
Yeah.
this seems like this is a well-trained bass player. Like, even from the first album, it kind of seems like, right? You're just like, there's
not really though, because I mean, when you look back, they were probably 16, 17 when they first started LAPD. And,
like
that
the first
was
one.
Yeah. That was with David and Monkey and Fieldy. So they started that, and then it sort of evolved when they got Jonathan Davis in and they got Head in there, and then you start mixing in, Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of funky metal rock type deal with you got some Mr. Bungle in there, and then you put the hip hop in there, and then you just kind of blend it to that, and it was like nothing else. I mean, there was so many metal bands that were starting to kick off the rap rock thing, but it didn't sound like Korn.
I think that was the issue with me initially, is that I always like thought of them as like this rap rock kind of like gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really, I mean, I never listened to them any further than I think, what what was it? Sorry, the one with the kid like hopscotch, and I should just think
Follow
of
the
it.
Leader.
Yeah, that one. And
Yep.
then that's it. I never really listened to them more than that, but like going, especially the first two albums, that sound, the super low tuned wall
Yep.
of it's almost like fuzzy, and then like the snare just cuts right through.
Yep.
High end of Fieldy's bass cuts right through. It's not, especially like for that time, no
Oh,
one else
totally.
was doing that.
They were the first band to use a 7 string, other than Steve Vai. They basically
Right.
took the Ibanez Universe and tuned it down, 2 full steps, and that was their thing. They put groove and go, right? So,
And you would think that, like you listen to like the musicianship and it's amazing. And
mhm.
I was watching one of these sort of bass guys. I watch these bass guys on YouTube, and he was sort of trying to recreate Fieldy's sound. And he's like, it's not like any sort of like specific technique. He just kind of, like he said, he hits the bass like this percussive instrument.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
like I've been trying to like recreate it, and it's like impossible. So like there is some technique there. It's
Oh,
just
definitely.
this weird alien thing that he does, which is amazing. Like trying to recreate that tone. Sorry, I'm going off on a million different like
No,
subjects.
it's
No,
it's
no,
Like
that's good.
the tone, the technique is like something I've never really like paid attention to it, and now I do. And that's why I messaged you guys and I was like, we should also do Korn.
Yes. Yes. And I'm very happy we did, because I've been a massive Korn fan since second semester grade 10. So that would have been what,
Well,
spring of 1996.
And what
Uh,
was the first thing you heard?
I remember Sean Levers, my buddy. I met him in second semester grade 10, and he had the album. I don't know if it was his or his older brother, but yeah, right off the bat, it was self-titled, because Peachy didn't come out till I think it was October of that
96.
same year, right? So it was self-titled, and it was nothing that I'd ever heard before, and I couldn't compare it to anything. And even today, you can't compare it to any other band. And when you say that, you thought it was some cheesy rap rock garbage, I mean, it's basically every band that came after them, you know, that
Yes.
was that.
Hey, don't diss
when
the biscuit, man. Don't diss the
it's John Otto,
Yeah.
yeah, ticket to the Matthews Bridge. No, but I mean, without Korn, there wouldn't be any of those bands, man.
They
That's
invented
fair to
new
say.
metal. That's it,
Absolutely.
right? Like,
That's fair
yeah,
to say.
they invented it.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
Yeah.
But I agree about Limp Bizkit. They get a free pass.
Yeah, yeah.
But anybody else?
Okay, hold up. Rage Against the Machine, though.
That was different though. That was
Yeah.
Okay.
that wasn't for the most part. The guitar stuff on that was, he was the DJ, so it was just so much of it was just playing. I'm a turntable right now. Where with Korn, it was so many layers. I think it was just
Right.
more layers.
Yeah, and it felt like,
Yeah.
there was like a place for Rage to be, like for the
Oh, totally.
politics sides
Yeah.
of things. And then it was like, obviously, like the emotional side for Korn, and like
Yeah.
to be able to be vulnerable in this genre was kind of
Absolutely.
like the first, wasn't really allowed before kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? Like it just
Yeah.
didn't happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's another part of it. But yeah, I from what I read, Jonathan Davis was a coroner's assistant before,
Yeah.
and then a psychic told him to join the band.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
you can't make this up, man. Like,
No, totally. And it was within such a small period of time too, because Jonathan Davis was studying to actually be a coroner. He was massive into horror movies growing up, and he thought, oh, I'm gonna, go be a coroner. And he went through, I think it was 3 years or something. And then at some point, the guys from Korn approached him and he turned it down. And then it was a later point afterwards that they asked him again. And then the psychic said, go do this thing. But yeah, unreal, man.
yeah, that's crazy. Have you guys ever been to a psychic?
No, I don't believe in any of that crap.
I did in Greece. Yes. She was just hanging out kind of on the side of some street.
Yeah.
And I think she pulled a card or two, and like, yeah, it was interesting.
Crystal ball, and you were someone important in your past life. You were like Napoleon or something, with all the 800 other thousand people that were also Napoleon. And
Oh, so you were there. You were like,
that's everyone's the same person. A psychic never tells you that you had a shitty life in your past lives. They always tell you you're great.
oh, but
You did
sometimes they
amazing
say,
things.
I don't see anything in your future. And you're like,
And they pull the death card.
No, they pulled the corn card. They pulled the corn card, and then
Yeah.
you went to corn.
Yeah.
That's how it went.
Yeah.
That's
Have either of you seen them live at all?
No,
no.
I
You?
have not.
T?
I still have my original tickets from
Wow.
2000 and 2007.
Wow.
Yeah. Got original.
Skyreach.
Man, I got all the things. I still got my T-shirt, the concert shirt from the Issues tour.
Fun.
I've have almost every album on CD, including all of the original singles that they put out, the single CDs they put out. I
Okay.
had to track all that. I got it all. So
The full corn collection.
total. It's unreal. Love it.
Okay. So then I have to ask you so let's start. We don't have to go through album by album here,
There's
but
just too
like,
much. What are they? 13
there's
some odd
too
albums?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And happy 420, by the way, guys.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So what was I talking about again? No, I'm just so the first, I want to say all the way up to Follow the Leader.
Yep.
You've got this sound, which was what I have gathered in my research. They were at the ranch. It was some studio where they recorded Korn and Life is Peachy, I believe.
Yeah, with Ross
And it was
Robinson.
broken JC 800s, just a bunch of like mismatched like
Yep.
gear
Mhm.
that gave them this really like sound that sounds like the amplifiers are on fire and turned down to like A.
Yeah, that was part of it. They also, Ross Robinson was really big into using different effects pedals. So there's a lot of
Right.
blending of, say, a JCM 800 and certain fuzz pedals and certain poly effects, where it's like the POG,
Right.
where it's like synthesizery kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of that. A lot of Digitech whammy for all
Right,
those
yeah.
crazy pterodactyl sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a good mix, and being pretty much the first band to use 7 strings in that way, and to be able to, Monkey and Head playing off of each other it's
And to be
its
able to,
own
like,
sound.
decipher the actual notes that they're playing.
Totally.
with it. But then there's a change, like around Follow the Leader.
Mhm.
It gets a little bit more, okay, like polished up for MTV.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I think it was the biggest jump for me was around Issues. And I think they had a single release for Godzilla or something like that.
For the soundtrack movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And the sound for me changed completely. And it's
Yeah.
been different ever since. Like, I just want to get your take on that. Like, is that
Dave?
something that you're okay with? Like, because you said you've got all the albums.
I love that they've evolved. I love that they did not stick with the path of the first 2, but they also kept elements of that through their up until Requiem. Like there's those core sounds are there. And even with lineup changes, when David left in, what was it, 2005?
Right.
No,
Yep.
he would 2006, I think. Anyway,
No, I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. 2005. And Head also left around then. No, sorry. Head left first, and then David left in 2006, because for their Untitled 2007, they brought in Terry Bozzio, and Monkey was just doing all the guitars on See You on the Other Side and Untitled. So,
Right. Okay.
but the writing changed. It still sounded like Korn, but when Head left the band, Monkey basically had to take on all of the guitar duty, all of the writing duty, and he did not want to bring in a second guitar player. So it was just, okay, let's try this out now. So
Right.
but the elements were still there. And yeah, it's yeah, it's just a unique thing that it's nice that they didn't change. All the way up to, what was it, Path of Totality, when they did that dubstep album.
The dubstep stuff, yeah.
Even that was cool.
Oh, I missed that.
And even that sounded like
Okay.
Korn, right? So
Right.
Yeah. It was just a different version of kind of.
totally.
It was the discotheque.
They've
version.
always found a way to keep it fresh and interesting, is what
Okay.
I like.
And why do you guys think, like, just kind of going back, Dane, to what you said there, like going back to Follow the Leader, like, you know, they were been around already. Kind of feels like, you know, Limp Bizkit, you know, what's the first album come out? 96, right? 97, maybe even for, right? And then
Yeah.
98 is when that whole new metal thing just starts exploding. And then it's just like massive, right? It's just like, that's when everybody kind of found out about Korn. It feels like, right? And it
That's
just
when
makes
the
me
mainstream
wonder.
did, definitely.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes me wonder, like, why that hit at that point. Was it just like all of that together, you know, coming together at the same time? But they had been around, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like these other new metal bands were like brand new. Feels
Well, they
like
were-
they just, you know, just came out that week kind of
There
thing.
were already copycats at that point. So they did their self-titled, they did Peachy, which was somewhat well accepted. But it wasn't until Follow the Leader came out that there was a lot of things that factored in, where Korn tried to get a deal or make some sort of a deal with Adidas. And Adidas was,
Right.
they basically flat out said, no, we don't, we don't deal with musicians anymore, you know, after Run DMC and that whole thing went through. So
Yeah.
they chose not to. So Puma stepped up and they came to Korn and they're like, hey, let's do something, because they saw, you know, they're growing. They're going to make some money off of this. So Puma comes in there and they start putting Korn songs in their commercials. So now they've got worldwide television commercials for Puma, and now mainstream is hearing Korn. And then Follow the Leader started getting some solid videos on MTV, and that's where it all blew up.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
And I
did the
wonder
song-
if that's that video too, because it's a pretty
Forgot the Life, that thing changed
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
In mainstream, that made new metal blow up, was basically that album, that song.
that's the one
You
with
know,
the bullet.
That's the one with the bullet. That's the one
Yeah.
that they had on Total Request Live, that TRL on MTV.
Yeah.
And it was
Oh, yeah.
that was a show where people would phone in and they would request the song. And there was so many weeks that Korn was the number one, that song was the number one requested song, that after X amount of months, they just had to retire it to get something else on the charts, because it was the only thing that was playing on TRL for months and months.
What a time.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Though never again. It feels like
Yeah.
with something like that. Not just Korn, but any band like
Yeah,
that. You know, like,
absolutely.
that's never gonna happen again.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I had to look it up too. Like, I always wondered what that at the end of Daddy,
Yep.
that conversation.
Yep.
I've always wondered, man, like what that conversation is, and I didn't look it up until like a couple days ago. And
Yeah.
from what I read, the producer found
Ross
the tape.
Robinson.
Yeah, found the tape in the house that he was renovating, and they like played it for them, and it like kind of matched with like the theme of like telling somebody, you know, something that happened that they're not listening to, and then it just tied into kind of what with Daddy and the whole, you know, what that was all about.
That was all written by Jonathan Davis, though. So
No,
it was basically his experience, right? So
Yeah,
or a
but that's
form
what
of
he's
his
saying
experience.
is that
Yeah.
that like matched this like couple having this fight about this car.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It like matched where he's like, "You're not listening to me," like, and he just uses all like vulgar language, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Anyways, I had to look it up, but it was like, okay, I finally figured it out.
Yeah.
It was a bit of like what's the beginning of Downward Spiral, because I didn't know what the hell that was until I looked
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah. Where's the samples? Where's the, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was from the movie and everything else. I just sound like somebody getting beat
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah.
That's all. So
Yeah. And another really cool thing was when Follow the Leader first came out, I bought it the day that it released, and I brought it home and I threw it in my CD player, and there was nothing. I pressed play and there was nothing for 13 tracks. The album didn't start until track 13 or 14, and then it went.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Like it was so cool what people, what they used to do on, solid media,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about this in a previous episode where some tracks were like on zero. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's like rewind for 4 minutes and
Yeah.
13 seconds to hear.
Yeah.
Like,
Nine Inch Nails did that a few times. There was a Korn
Right.
album that you had to rewind to get the first song on the album. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun stuff like that doesn't.
yeah.
It's a lost
kids-
art.
The kids
Yeah.
just won't understand.
Yeah.
They just don't get it.
Yeah. And being one of the very first bands to take advantage of the internet, because it was so new way back when the internet was new in 1997 and 96. They had before social media and before all that other stuff, they just had Korn. I don't know if it was Korn specifically or them and their label decided to do an internet show, a weekly internet show. It was Korn TV. It was
Really?
it was like an after school sort of online only kind of variety show, kind of get to know your artist kind of deal. And I remember watching that
No way.
on the little screen on my computer.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
What?
it's rad.
What was some of the content? Were they playing or were they just
It's
hanging
just a
out?
mixed bag. It's a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that you would see on social media now, where it's like updates and talking to the band and just the shit they do behind the scenes and whatnot. Yeah, it was really cool. So,
Wow.
but that's another thing that kind of jumped them into the main world of things, being one of the first to do that and being so accessible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because before it was magazines and it was seeing them live, basically.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I remember too, I thought Life Was Peachy when I first saw the album cover. I thought it was a rap album.
It kind of does look like a rap album.
Does it? Yeah, like at that time too. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, is that like the next like
And it
Biggie
starts
album?
off with Twist. It starts
Yeah.
off with Twist, and it's like, what is this? This isn't even words, but it's great, and it's
Yeah.
rap, but it's not rap. It's kind of ska, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, no, and it's memorable too. Like
Yeah.
even when you
Yeah.
play that again, because that's the very first thing that I heard of that band, right? And I
Yeah,
was
me
just,
too. Yeah.
oh, this is
What
like,
is
what
this?
that?
Yeah,
Kind of thing. But the same thing, Dave. It took me a while to kind of figure it out and like come back to it too, right? Because yeah, it just was. There was so much else to listen to at this time. This is again one of these. It goes back into the fold of these 103 episodes where it's
Mhm.
like this was also going on during this time, and along with Meatloaf and Shania Twain and
The
everything.
90s
Michael
were-
Jackson.
the 90s were the greatest decade for music. It was just the most diverse.
Yeah,
and the
it
most,
just
the most
it,
creative and open.
it blows my mind how much time I had to listen to this music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know all that stuff. I know the Meatloaf. I know the Shania. I've heard
Yeah.
it all, right? Like it's just it blows my mind because it feels like I don't have the capacity to do that now, or there's just not even. I don't know.
yeah.
Well, I think I was just thinking like what judgy little shits we were back then. And we only like
We still
if you
are.
had if you had a
still are.
keyboard in your band, like no way, dude. But you kind of had to be. You kind of had to like, pick your genre or pick your sound or whatever it was because there was just so much out there. And I guess it's the same now, but like multiplied by a million. But I think I don't.
Here's
I don't
the
know.
thing,
Now
though,
that
man.
I'm
Like,
thinking about it, like
Yeah.
if I didn't want to listen, if I don't want to listen to Taylor Swift right now, I don't have to listen to Taylor Swift
Ever.
right now.
Yep.
But back
At
in
the
the day, I would know, you and I would both know every single Taylor Swift song going because we just had time for it and we listened to it and it was on and you were just like, all right, well, I'm waiting for the next because I think that like the Korn's going to come on next. And you're like,
Yeah.
I'll wait for the next one. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
it's Mariah Carey. I'll listen to it. You know,
Exactly.
you just keep
Yeah.
going.
Music. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Much
the
music
sauce
and
I was going
MTV
for.
were it was an event. It was an event because there was
Yeah.
nothing like it. So you wanted to hear your band. You knew that it was probably going to come on around this time. So you better be ready.
Yeah, you had to wait.
Right?
It was all mixed in with everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah, exactly. That's what it was, I think.
Yeah, it's just exposure to all that other stuff too, and you know, other people's shitty music that you had to go listen to or whatever, and you're just like,
But now we're
Okay.
going back to it. We're like, I guess it wasn't that shitty.
It wasn't that
because,
shitty compared to what's now. and
Yeah.
now all these new groups are stealing all the shitty stuff that was back in the 90s and rebranding it and changing the lyrics, and then it's a whole new song.
I think that is another reason why, and I'm probably repeating myself here. I was waiting for my fairy to come, and I was listening to the self-titled album and just reading about them.
Mhm.
And there was a story about how they were jamming in a space somewhere in I don't know, California somewhere. I don't know.
Bakersfield, probably.
Yeah. And there was a crowd of people like hanging outside of the jam space listening to them. And I was like, can you imagine? You've never heard music like this before.
Yeah.
It is the most aggressive, down-tuned, different, like what an experience that would have been.
Totally.
Just listening to something so different at a time when everything was, you know, more or less the same, apart from what we just spoke about. But like in terms of like, you know, metal or heavy music, this was completely different.
Yep. It was an absolute game changer. And to have an absolute game changer that's still relevant now and still massive. I mean, when you're looking at the tours that are coming up and these massive festivals and whatever, Korn and Metallica are the two bands that will probably be the most known bands in heavy music forever. Like those two bands have reached such a pinnacle where when you say anything about, you talk about anything metal to someone that doesn't know metal, they know Metallica and they've heard of Korn.
Okay. Yeah. I could agree with that.
And
Universal language.
And looking at the longevity of their career, it's very, very similar.
And that's something else which is really interesting too, because they seem to be having, is it a resurgence or have they always been popular? Because now I can see like even
They've never
young
left.
kids.
Yeah.
Right.
New
But
metal
they're-
is coming back, definitely. I've noticed that too. It's become a whole new thing now.
Right.
And that has done the whole rebirth of it for sure. But they haven't went away. I mean, every 2 years, basically, since 93 to 2022, they've had something. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how consistent it's
Mhm.
been. Actually,
yeah.
and Dane, you reminded me of something too, and I don't know how long ago it was that I saw it, but and Mike, you've seen this before, I'm sure. Maybe we even talked about it, but that Crop Circles concert, that Korn
Yep,
Crop
I have that
Circles
too. That
concert,
was unreal.
yeah. It just is like I saw it on TV one time, and it was like on a concert like channel or whatever, but it was just like them in a like massive field, like they stamped out like a 700-foot circle and like played in the middle of this like crop circle in Bakersfield, and it was like corn surrounded by corn. It was like, but it was just like it was kind of,
and they had the cameras were on. Well, the cameras were on a train track that went all the way around, and it just kept spinning around and getting the shots. And they used like helicopter drones, and yeah,
it was a crazy concert, and it kind of had that same vibe, like the Pink Floyd kind of, you know, amphitheater
absolutely,
one, kind of thing.
Yep,
reminded me of that.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and I don't know how long ago that was. Maybe like 15 years ago.
Probably pretty close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2010-ish. Yeah. What album was out?
Yeah, probably very, very close to that. Yeah, it would have been.
There's your Korn.
Probably 3.
That's correct.
Yeah, 2010. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that is correct.
Got it.
Yeah, and the Unplugged was good too.
What?
Their Unplugged was good too.
Yeah.
Unplugged or Tiny Desk? Unplugged?
Yeah. The Unplugged.
Unplugged, yeah. They did a whole MTV Unplugged thing too.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was with and who else showed up there?
Buddy
Cure.
from The Cure was
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Chick from
Really?
Evanescence was on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they brought in a few interesting acts with them. So
Mike and I looked up not that long ago, like all the unplugged acts that had happened because we were like, what else have we missed? And there's actually quite a bit out
mhm.
there that we didn't even know about, but we were kind of also surprised at how many of those we've seen. So 2007 for that one for Korn.
Okay, so who is
Yeah.
Unplugged? Is that MTV or is
Yeah.
it just like a clever title that
Yeah.
people use when they're ready to go unplugged?
And no, it was a whole MTV series
Okay, so it's brought to you by
they did
MTV.
for probably 20 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And there's some hip hop ones in there too that we didn't even know about. Can't remember who it was now, but there's a few that we were like, they did one, like never heard it. Yeah. Yeah. So like Mike, as a guy who's still listening to these albums, like are these albums still like hitting hard kind of thing, or are they getting cringy at all, or
There's
is it still solid?
not one point, has it ever gotten cringy. Not one point has ever gotten to a point where it's like, maybe I'll skip this song. Like they put out albums that aren't just a hit song here and a hit song there. It's well thought out, full albums, and they change it up pretty well every album. They add something, do something different. The drumming has gone way better since what's his name, Ray Luzier. Luzier. Yeah, he was a massive upgrade for them.
You know where that guy came from? He was playing with Steel Panther, and then he was playing at the same time. He was playing with Diamond Dave.
Oh yeah,
really?
I knew the yeah.
So he was playing with those two acts. I mean, you know, that's quite a bit different than Korn, but I mean,
yeah.
Drumming,
it's kind of too cool too, because you look at Terry Bozzio, that was a Zappa guy, and Jonathan Davis's dad was a keyboard player for Zappa for a while.
No way.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Oh, you just hot facted me.
Yeah, there you go. There's your hot fact.
Nicely done.
Hot fact. Yeah.
Nicely done. That's a great one. Yeah, there's another. We should do that. We should do a Zappa episode, man.
Wow. How have we not done that yet? Interesting.
Okay, we'll talk about that off.
I'm down for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, that's crazy. I forgot what we were talking about before that, but
drumming upgraded with Lay.
He was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was not. I didn't like his drumming as much. Dave Silvera was awesome, but
no, they have the longevity and staying power, and you know, as long as they still stay alive, they're gonna keep doing it. It seems, because they love what they do, you know. And even when Head left for 5 or 6 years, I think it was, because he left on what was it, 2005 to 2013, I think. And in that time, I mean, when he came back, it was just like nothing changed, but the excitement and the momentum were back from, you know, when they were still young and starting off and fresh, right? So
yeah, it must have been crazy that they were still around for him to even join, still back into the fold, right? Like he would have never thought that. I'm like,
they were getting bigger and bigger, and he left to do his own thing, and he had his Love and Death band, and he did a couple other things in between, and it just kind of happened, which was cool. So
because we talk about too, like the longevity of bands and like the you know, how quick it burns out, and it's just
totally.
You know, we've covered a lot of bands and groups on this whole podcast that have had a lot of longevity, actually. You know, like when you look back at some of these bands, there's been a few flash in the pans ones that we've done, but a lot of them have been evolved over their career, right?
Yeah,
most definitely. Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Favorite album?
Favorite album?
Gotta ask you.
Issues.
Okay, why?
Issues is my favorite album. Just the time of life I was and where I was in a headspace and when it came out and how much I listened to it. I mean, that was one of those albums that it was always on my stereo, morning, day, night, I would sleep with that song on, or that album on repeat. It would just keep playing on repeat, and all night. It was just one of those albums that grabbed me that much. It was perfect album for me anyway.
That's really interesting how when you think about your favorites and how much context matters.
Totally.
It's not just a technical thing, or it's not just like, a band that you've been following and this one just sounded better. There's also that, what was going on in my life? Like,
it's an emotional connection.
What season were you in?
Yeah, it's an emotional connection, 100%.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And I think that's why some of those albums are difficult to go back to, at the same time, right? Like, because you have had that emotional connection to it, and it reminds you of something that you were doing, or something that happened when you're listening to that. And for me, it's just like, it has that connection of where it's just like, probably can't do that, or I can't do that song, or I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll skip that one song on the album, or these two songs, but with Korn, it's one of the few front to back. It's just like Motorhead, where there's not one song I would skip. Radiohead, I can't think of a song that I would skip. It's just, when you're in that headspace for that, I want to put on this album as a front to back album and re-experience that stitch in time, I guess.
Yeah, and you can still go back and listen to that album today.
Absolutely.
and still go through it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Totally unrelated follow-up question.
Okay.
What's Jonathan Davis's problem with Mr. Rogers?
Basically, it was a story about I don't think it. You hear stories back and forth as to, this is true, this really happened, this didn't happen, this was a sub, whatever. But it's more so of a sub story of a molesting neighbor kind of thing.
Okay,
is basically what it is. Like, you told me everyone was my neighbor, everyone was going to be my neighbor.
I get it.
You can't trust everybody that's around, and there's some horrible, terrible humans around that are your neighbor. And during the day, they're this and that, and at other times, they're horrible.
Got it. Okay. I didn't do an extensive
predators. Yeah.
search on that, but I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, what a weird song.
Yeah.
But I got it. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that either.
And once again, that's another reason why people connect so well to Korn, is because the things that he writes about and talks about are so, it touches so many people that have gone through so much horrible, terrible, awful things in their life. They can relate to this, and it's a healing thing as well.
Okay, we got 2 minutes left because we're saying F you to Zoom. But I kind of want to talk about that really quick. If you give Mike, if you can talk about that at the end, because I've always thought about this too. And even doing this, I was like, how can you keep that going for like 30 years?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And like, still make that relevant so that, and I'm not trying to belittle it or demean it or anything like that, but it's just like, how do you keep that intensity where you're like, I'm angsty still? You know what I mean?
Good question.
You know,
anyways, you're in your almost 60s and you're like,
right. It's just like, Mick Jagger talking about ladies and being tough on the street, right? It's just like, it's not 1970 anymore. Anyways, a minute, 15 seconds. Go.
A minute, 15 seconds. Damn. Okay. So why are they still relevant, and why they just have the passion? The passion is still there. And the things that they talk about come from real experiences. They're not just a made up thing. It's not just a show where it's like, oh, I've created this character and now I'm going to play this. When you look at the Beatles and the Stones, and it's like, the Stones were the rebels and the Beatles were this and that, the clean cut, but it was the other way around, where you've got the Beatles that came from the mean streets of Liverpool, and you've got the Stones that were art school kids, right? Who's the more badass guy, right? So it's real. That's my answer. It's real. It comes from a real place, and they can keep going because they still find the joy in it, and they still have the spark for it, and they can still develop that into wanting, even after all those years of being total meth heads, and still being able to do this and drag yourself out and clean yourself up and still want to do this. It's amazing.
All right, we want you guys to subscribe, share, and review this podcast. Keep it going, keep it strong, because we're having a great time entertaining you guys with B-Sides and Beers podcast.